Ravenclaw! Hermione Granger came so close to being sorted into Ravenclaw that she joined the elusive hat stall club, that in-between place where the hat isn't exactly sure what house is best suited for the student. The advantage is, it's usually a case of both houses being extremely suitable, but the question is, what house can benefit the student the most? When it comes to hat stalls, it's normally between Ravenclaw and Gryffindor, as their ethics are quite similar even if the house traits differ. Hermione is studious and academic, so it's no surprise that we still see some Potterheads argue that she should be a Ravenclaw, even if she did go on to excel as a Gryffindor. So in today's video, we're going to do exactly what we did with the Harry Potter video when we sorted him into Slytherin. So let's sort Hermione into Ravenclaw, let's see just how much the story changes, and let's keep watching, and most importantly, enjoy. So before I start this video, it's important to note a couple of things. This story is based around Harry Potter. He's the lead character, and it's all about his journey. Hermione and Ron are also lead characters, but the majority of things they're heavily involved with always lead back to or have something to do with Harry. With Harry Potter being in Slytherin, that video was different because the story obviously changed. We still had a path for Harry, we still had a route to go on. However, with Hermione being in Ravenclaw, it actually gets a lot more difficult. Although this is somewhat minor fanfiction by making these adjustments, I would actually have to rewrite Hermione's years as a Ravenclaw completely, as we just don't know what exactly her experience would be like in Hogwarts, and that's something I'm not going to do. I will, however, take her surroundings into consideration and do my best to look at how the story changes, but I have to make this very clear. Hermione Granger as a Ravenclaw doesn't drastically alter her own path in terms of how successful she'd be, but instead, it's her absence that drastically alters how things would turn out for Harry and Ron. Even though this video is about what would happen if Hermione Granger was sorted into Ravenclaw, what it does more than anything is highlight just how crucial she was to the triangle of her, Harry and Ron. At the end of the video, I'll give my own opinion on if I think she'd be a suitable Ravenclaw, but until then, let's go straight to the sorting ceremony. Now, all we know about her original sorting is that she told Terry Boots that the sorting hat had seriously considered placing her in Ravenclaw, but ultimately chose Gryffindor in the end. The hat is placed on Hermione's head, and the hat stall lasts for over 4 minutes, as it did originally. I can imagine the hat concluding that Hermione's thirst for knowledge would be best suited in the House of the Eagle. It decides, better be Ravenclaw! The Ravenclaw students erupt with cheers, and Hermione, who would have been happy with either Ravenclaw or Gryffindor, smiles and takes her seat with her new housemates. Hermione would comment, "It felt like I was up there for a lifetime," to a fellow Ravenclaw. I mean, how long does it take to choose a house? Another Ravenclaw student from a higher year would then inform Hermione that she wasn't the only hat stall between Ravenclaw and Gryffindor. Their house head, Professor Flitwick, was a well-known hat stall, along with Gryffindor head, Professor McGonagall. Both teachers could have easily ended up in opposite houses and been opposite heads if the hat had decided differently. It's something they joke about every now and then. This would give Hermione a boost in confidence, as she would relish being placed in the same bracket as two powerful teachers like Charms Master Phileas Flitwick and Transfiguration expert Minerva McGonagall. So as I've said, this video is really going to show Hermione's importance more than anything, so let's start with book 1. Harry and Ron become good friends. Everything happened as it did on the train. Ron becomes a Gryffindor, Harry becomes a Gryffindor, and it's a pretty even start. Harry's scar still pains him as it originally did. He still believes Snape is the bad guy, and he still investigates the Philosopher's Stone along with Ron. The trouble is, with Hermione not around, whose light reading led to her to come across the stone's creator Nicholas Flamel, Harry would really struggle and Ron wouldn't be much help either. They'd ask around, which could possibly bring them unwanted attention. Ron also wouldn't have learned the levitation charm without Hermione's encouragement, as the two boys wouldn't have entered the girls' bathroom looking for her in the first place, since she's now in another house. Hermione would have settled into Ravenclaw quite well. She's very studious, and many Ravenclaws respect academic promise, as they would look to gain as much house points as possible through such means in order to win the House Cup. Without Hermione as a Gryffindor, Harry and Ron wouldn't make it past book 1. Hermione saved them both from being suffocated in Devil's Snare, Harry just from listening to her instructions, and Ron because of the spell she used. She also solved the puzzle to allow Harry to move into the last room. So even if Harry somehow survived the Devil's Snare by himself, he'd have stalled at the final room. The question is, would Harry have made it to the final room and defeated Lord Voldemort? It's impossible to say, but without Hermione, it would have been a serious test of knowledge and concentration. In book 2, we see very little of Hermione. She was petrified by the basilisk as a Gryffindor, and I'm sure she'd be petrified as a Ravenclaw due to her Muggle-born status. However, she was the one who discovered that the monster was a basilisk. Harry and Ron hadn't a clue. Her one contribution was a massive contribution. She'd have had her own friends in Ravenclaw who would have been happy to see her return, but that's pretty much it for Hermione in that book. By book 3, Hermione, as she was originally, would be the brightest witch in her year. Her knowledge of spells and execution of charms is second to none. She wants to best herself in every way imaginable, so it's highly likely she'd have gotten the Time Turner from Professor McGonagall, as she did originally. At first, I thought that wouldn't happen because she wasn't a Gryffindor, and maybe McGonagall trusted her a little more because of it, and that's why she got it. But I actually couldn't justify that as a legit reason. McGonagall was too clean-cut to ever be spiteful. Even with the Time Turner, Hermione would realise the same thing as she realised originally, that divination was not her subject. Book 3 would need such a rewrite because Hermione's absence as a Gryffindor sees drastic changes. She wouldn't have taken Harry back in time to warn themselves, which wouldn't have saved Buckbeak. This would also see Harry and Sirius have their souls sucked out, as future Harry couldn't save past Harry. Even if he did, Sirius still would have gone straight back to Azkaban and been placed in complete isolation, or even worse, received the Dementor's kiss as punishment for his escape. Once again, Harry Potter doesn't make it through a school year without Hermione Granger. By book 4, Hermione doesn't have any real love interest we know about, because she's not around Ron at all. She never created the friendship with him and Harry. Don't forget, the trio only became real friends after the troll incident. That means she would not have attended the Quidditch World Cup either. I still believe she'd attract interest from Victor Krum as she did originally, and she'd attend the Yule Ball with him, although with a more open view on things. We know at this point that Hermione's feelings for Ron were there by this time, so without him around in this timeline, she's free to enjoy Victor's company, and may have just gone and accepted the invitation to spend that summer with him afterwards. Once again, she played a key role in Harry's success. She was instrumental in Harry completing the first challenge of the Triwizard Tournament, as she taught him the summoning spell, which in turn allowed Harry to summon his broom and retrieve the golden egg. As Harry was nowhere near skillful enough to tackle the beast with magic alone. So if we take Hermione out of that equation, what on earth does Harry have to do to defeat the dragon? He doesn't. He fails to retrieve the egg and finishes last. It's also not exactly clear if she and Ginny Weasley still become friends either, as with them being in separate houses, they wouldn't be sharing a common room, which means little to less time together. I could see Hermione becoming friends with Cho Chang and even Luna Lovegood. I could also see Cho revealing to Hermione about liking both Cedric and Harry, as nothing had changed on that end. Hermione as a Ravenclaw further highlights her absence in book 5 as she once again plays an integral role. Everyone is calling Harry a liar in regards to Voldemort's return. The Daily Prophet weren't going to give him a fair interview as they were so heavily biased. It was Hermione's blackmail of Rita Skeeter following her discovery of her being an illegal animagus into giving Harry a fair interview that helped it restore some of his credibility. Remove her from that situation and it leaves Harry at the mercy of a lot of people. She greatly encouraged him when it came to being the lead teacher in Dumbledore's army, despite her being the better skilled witch. This gave Harry a huge amount of confidence as he was still extremely uneasy and doubtful following the Dark Lord's return. She also interfered and saved Harry from the Cruciatus curse at the hands of Dolores Umbridge, which means Harry would have been on the end of one of the unforgivable curses. I think it's clear to see just how much of a part Hermione plays in Harry's success and what her absence actually means for him. However, for book 6, something that we'd also miss from Hermione was her aggressive side, her passionate side that led to irrational behaviour. We see her emotions get the better of her judgment when she conjures the birds to attack Ron. She didn't care about any consequence. It was a great moment to see her use non-logical and irrational thought for once, as that kind of behaviour was so absent in her personality. In book 7, with the Snatchers tracking down and capturing Muggleborns, and Hermione not involved in hunting Horcruxes, she'd most likely be in hiding with her parents in the Muggle world. I'm pretty sure she'd have no involvement in the early battle, but would come to help in the final hours. Without Hermione, Harry and Ron would once again most likely have been killed. Hermione protected them greatly in the Deathly Hallows. She consistently apparated them from place to place, like out of the Ministry and away from Yaxley. She just so happens to have the dittany that healed Ron's splinched arm, of which he'd have possibly bled to death from. She drank the disgusting Polyjuice potion to transform into Bellatrix. This form of the potion tasting unbearable due to its reflection of Bellatrix's character, and she also saved Harry from Nagini too. When we look at Hermione being sorted into Ravenclaw, we see how integral she is to Harry and Ron, more so than what her own path would have been like, because it hasn't been written. If you ask me, Hermione would be okay in Ravenclaw. She does have trouble thinking outside of the box, as everything must already be proven and fact-based before she gives it a thought. Unless it's written with a backed source that she finds acceptable, she passes it off like it's not even in existence. Should just look at her rejection and heavy disregarding of the Quibbler. Ravenclaws are innovative, the creative. They are inventors, theorists, and they set the standard. They don't blindly follow them after they've already been established. Those who can think outside of the box are those who belong in Ravenclaw. Hermione, although incredibly smart and bright, has never really been too wise or too witty either. So guys, with that being said, that is my video on what if Hermione Granger was sorted into Ravenclaw. Make sure to check out my other video where I'm talking about my animated series entitled Riddle, an Animated Story, which is all about the early years of Tom Riddle growing up in the orphanage before he makes a transition into Hogwarts. Thanks again guys, have a great day, I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, I truly appreciate your support. Everyone, notifications of uploads are more important than ever, so please, if you haven't already, turn those notifications on to make sure you're notified the moment my video goes live. Making videos is what I love to do, it's my dream and my passion. However, it does cost time and money to produce this content, so if you have $1 to spare to support me on Patreon in exchange for some exclusive unseen content, then you can click the Patreon link below or at the end of this video. Please only support me if you can afford it. And make sure to follow me on Instagram at InstaDeanJ and on Twitter at PotterFolklore. Check out my other videos appearing on screen, and please make sure, most importantly, to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again everyone, and please have a great day.